Welcome back to the Morehammer podcast. I am your host, wargamingluke, and this week it is just the three of us. I am joined by my two co-hosts, as always, Simon, aka Hobby Waffle, and Ben, aka 90% Geek. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, we're good. It's nice to see you made it back from Germany after watching the football.
Yeah. No, I went, even though I was ill, I was actually there. Yeah, so I should have actually opened with, I'm back from Germany, guys, yeah. But no, well done for last week, guys. It was an awesome listen, so thanks for covering me, but I am back, mostly there. I apologise to anybody listening if you hear a cough in the background and I forget to mute, but I am still a bit chesty and full of it. But there we go.
For anyone who's watching on Spotify,
from the match at the Euros, that's what it is.
Too much alcohol, yeah.
Just say for anyone who's watching on Spotify, he doesn't mean chesty like it sounds.
Yeah, no. But this week, guys, we have tons to get through, so we will be cracking right into the topics this week. We'll be covering community questions later on as well. We've got plenty of those that you guys have been sending in, so we'll try and get through as many as we can. And this week we've got 20 questions coming back, and we've had lots of suggestions in for those as well, so we can start reeling off some of those over the next number of weeks. But if you're watching this on YouTube, guys, please do remember to subscribe to us, bottom right hand corner there, hit that button, and put your notifications on as well. Make sure that you know when new episodes drop for you. And of course, if you're listening to us over on Spotify, make sure to give us a follow over there as well, and you can always listen to us over there. Last of all, though, join us in the Discord. We've had a few new people join us in the last couple of weeks, which is nice to see. So keep adding to that, guys. Come join us over there. The links will always be in the description below the video. We're really starting to get regular chat all day long over there. It's really nice to see, and it keeps my day going, to be honest.
Got a lot of Gunpla posters coming up on there today. It was really cool photos and stuff they were working on.
Cool.
Yeah, a bit of Gunpla chat going on there. I'm liking it. Bring whatever chat you want, guys, over to there. Love to see it. But Ben, what is it time for?
And now the news.
It is indeed time for the news, and we do have a bit of news to get through this week from articles from over the weekend and today. First of which, we have a new Necromunda model again this week. Every Monday at the moment, we're getting new Necromunda models revealed, so nice to see another one.
Necromonday!
Indeed. Lady, I don't know how to properly pronounce this.
Hera
Helmore?
Hera Helmore.
Helmore. There we go. Well done, sir. You know what it is. New Spyro character. Existed anyway in the lore, I believe, but I don't know if she had an old model, though.
Yeah, it did actually. It's pictured further down.
Oh, they used the old model, is it?
Yeah, the one.
Well, it's not really that old. She's got a model from the Ranthian Succession campaign books of Necromunda. So that was her miniature, but
in her giant armored skirt.
Yeah, and I think when we last seen her at the end of the books, I haven't actually read the last book, but from what I can gather, at the end of the last book, she was last seen at the gates of Hive Secundus, was it a brother, Ben? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's half brother, but yeah.
Half brother. And then they disappeared into the depths of Hive Secundus wearing a pair of Spyro suits. So obviously she's wearing this particular, I think is it Scythenian or Athenian?
I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it because it's got like an S then after it.
Yeah, so I'll just say Athenian, the Athenian pattern Spyro suit if you just scroll down. So she's still got the sword.
Silent S.
Yeah, so Athenian pattern hunting rig. She's still got the sword and the spear that she carries with her existing model. If you scroll down, she's got the same two weapons, but she's got two mechanical arms above it attached to the suit, which is pretty awesome. And it does say that those skulls, those Watcher skulls, are built into the suit somewhere, but I couldn't quite see where they were.
I was peering at that, and if Luke scrolls back up to it, I finally figured out where they are. So, Luke, if you can zoom in on her, I guess on the screen left,
on the elbows of the robotic arms,
on the back of the robot arms,
right
there.
So she's basically got eyes in the back of her head.
Everybody watching anyway,
and she's got like Terrasight, like the blue ray gun thing, supposedly cause you to kind of get paralyzed and your immune system, your nervous system is shut down, so you're easier to kill. Which is really quite cool.
But no, she's a very cool looking model. What did I say, Ben? She looks like
Spider-Man villain.
And you pointed out that all of them do look like Spider-Man
all
villains.
All Spyros look like Spider-Man villains. You've got the Vulture, you've got Silver Sable, you've got Doc Ock. They are, if they're not standing on top of the Brooklyn Bridge screaming at Spider-Man, then they're not a Spyro.
Yeah, I definitely think she does. Very Doc Ock kind of vibes, or Scorpion or something like that. But
Yeah,
no, she's
I'd
awesome.
say. Very much
Yeah,
kind of
she's got something about like her rules down here or something. So she's got like sibling rivalry going on to do with the lore. So that that follows on into the actual game, which is kind of cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what we get next Monday. I'm assuming at some point maybe her half brother will get a Dramatis Personae model as well. But so far we've had 2 Tyrannid ones, 2 of the Malstrain ones now, and we've had 1 Spyra Dramatis Personae.
That's right. Yeah, we had the Psyker flying pizza door thing. Didn't
Yes.
we? And was it a Malstrain Alpha, but not the
Yeah.
it's not the Pure Strain, it's the Malstrain
the
Alpha.
Malstrain Alpha, the really cool.
I think you're spot on, Ben. I think we'll get her half brother, considering that both of them disappeared apparently into the hive.
Yeah.
Indeed. But yeah, awesome new model, and again we're getting more and more models attached to this release. So it's, I've got to be honest, it's tempting me more and more. It's tempting me more and more. I've got to obviously get Skaventide. I've got hold of that, but like so money's gonna be thin. But
Hey, hopefully we're doing the Little League, Blood Bowl League in October. But maybe after we've done that, maybe we all do like a Necromunda gang.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
And we could all get
Maybe
meet up
that'll
and have a
have to be the
Necromunda
next
game
one.
next year. That would be cool.
Good. Indeed. But what we'll move on to now, Sunday preview this last week, we can have a little touch on some of the bits they've revealed here. Basically what's going to come separate after we get Skaventide, I'd imagine, so probably the week after, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Going on pre-order soon, so you're going to get the core book separately,
which is a nice cover. I like that cover, I'm going to say.
And a very pretty limited edition as well, for anybody who wants that. It looks like, is there 2 different versions there, possibly? I don't know. Yeah,
everybody wants to pay, or maybe that's a slip cover. Maybe it's got like a book in a box type thing.
Yeah. That's quite nice. But,
speaking of slip covers, by the way, I watched your unboxing video of Skaventide, Luke.
Yeah.
And I did have a little shudder when you just ripped the paper surrounding your rule book in half rather than slid it off.
Yeah, do you know what though? Before I actually went on camera for that bit, I did try to slide it off and it just wouldn't come off. So I actually just did this funny bit where I just kind of went,
and thought, "Oh, you savage! You absolute savage!"
But yeah, if anybody does want to watch that, I did manage to get a hold of Skaventide. I did an unboxing on the channel, so feel free to check that out. Fun bit of an unboxing on there. But General's Handbook separately in Skaventide. They give you the majority of this in card form, which is kind of cool. So if you're getting hold of Skaventide, you'll get majority of it in there anyway. But I'd imagine there's a bit more detail in the actual handbook if you were to get that. So if you want to pick that up, that'll be coming soon as well.
So, what I thought was interesting about that is it says if you scroll to the text just under the General's Handbook, it says inside you'll find the core and advanced rules as well as the season rules. So what I didn't understand was, if you wanted just the core rules and advanced rules and not the lore, would it be better to buy this book?
That's what I was planning on doing.
I'd imagine so.
Right,
but I mean, I believe this time round, and I could be wrong, but I know at least the core rules are going to be free online anyway. But I'd imagine they might make the advanced rules free as well this time.
I would imagine the advanced rules might be locked behind a subscription, perhaps. I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. But I know it
just surprised me when it said that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Unless you wanted the lore, you could probably just buy this book, I would have thought. If you're a competitive player, I would imagine.
That's what I was
the next thing I was going to bring up anyway. So if you literally just want to be able to play Spearhead, there's a pack you can now, you're going to be able to buy for Fire and Jade. Yeah, so you're going to get the double-sided board, the little bit of terrain, and the books and whatever.
The terrain is just a bit sad. I mean, that is
It is, but from what I've seen, you can't play much more terrain than that for Spearhead because it's such a small board anyway. No.
Why is Spearhead such a small board as well?
It's the same size as Kill Team and Warcry.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Looks smaller.
It does look small. Well,
from what I've seen, it's the same size, or very similar.
Okay.
Because I believe, it was 22 by 30. Was the Kill Team. So I'll have to check on that. I'll probably get people battering me in the comments now, but I'm pretty certain. And from when I opened the board, it seemed a similar size. So, but obviously it's got the built-on objectives as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is quite handy. But
I don't know. I think those
yeah.
feel like they take it a little bit out of it for me, having just this 5 giant roundels in the middle of the board.
I mean, one thing I will say, guys, next week on the podcast, I'll definitely bring in, because I'm trying out Spearhead this week, since I've got hold of it all, so I'll be able to give my opinion on that next episode.
Cool.
So I'll let you know if the terrain's a big issue or not, or if you really need terrain, I guess. I'll be able to, because in Age of Sigmar, terrain doesn't really come much into play anyway, to be honest.
No, that's true, I suppose, which is a disappointment.
It is, but yeah. So I'm not surprised, though, as to why they've done it. But we also had the announcement that all of the faction packs, because we were told, weren't we, that we're getting these free indexes, if you like, for each of the factions are coming out.
You could also buy them on Dead Trees.
Yeah, so you can get, card packs for them with everything in that you need for your battle tome.
There's a fairly funny picture of... Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, there's a convenient space in the bottom right-hand corner there that's very Hashut shaped.
I
mean, just saying, there's a little space in the corner there.
Imagine if they dropped that on release day.
Little Chaos Dwarf would fit nicely in there.
Day after release day. Oh, by the way, here's the rules for Hashut.
Yeah, it's like, didn't think Skaventide was enough. Here's Hashut, baby.
I'm going to say, no, there's a fairly funny picture on Twitter at the moment of Hellstorm Mikey, and he's just got an armful. They sent him every single card faction pack to review, and he's there with like an armful like this going, I'm very grateful, but the amount of reading that I've got ahead of me now.
That's crazy, yeah. They do, when they dump it all on you at once. They're bringing back the Grand Alliance dice sets if you want those, so that's another thing. And then the new White Dwarf's coming out as well soon.
Which is nice to see. White Dwarf, you'll have hopefully an inaugural battle report then of the Skaven versus the Stormcast.
I noticed the 5 on White Dwarf is grayed out again as well. So it's like, it is issue 502, but it's also issue 2 of the sort of rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts.
I know. I don't like the new front covers either for White Dwarf, the new style. Not for me.
I kind of wish we could go back to... I mean, don't get me wrong. They are really cool. I do wish sometimes we could go back to having some miniatures on the cover as well, though.
That's true. Yeah, would make sense for a miniature game company, wouldn't it? Magazine, wouldn't it? But yeah. But quickly before we do move on, they did actually also release for basically, I think this is the week leading up to.
It's next week.
Skaventide release, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've released kind of like a schedule for when you're going to get each of the Alliance faction packs. So they're separating it all. I personally think this is daft.
Well, I mean, what we're supposed to do this week? Just sit and wait.
Yeah, it seems to me like a missed opportunity. Like you're going to have now a week where everyone just kind of cools down and goes, "Oh, great, cool. Well, I guess we'll go and do something." A cup of tea, anyone? While we wait for a week for Games Workshop to get their act together.
People writing army lists and getting stupidly excited and organising games.
At the very least, they should have.
But instead, everyone's sat here going, "What in the name of the thingy have they done that for?"
I think at the very least, they should have today or tomorrow have released the Spearhead rules and faction rules for each Spearhead.
That's a good shout.
Give people a week to try out Spearhead, and then maybe next week release the full rules for the factions. And don't release the factions over each day of the week, for God's sake.
Or at least release the Skaven and the Stormcast one straight away.
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Just them two.
I'd imagine they'll be the first battle tomes we'll get anyway, surely. So.
Well, yeah, they will be, but I mean, you can at least drop the faction rules now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I've said this on the Discord, and I'll say it here: if they had released the rules this week, then you'd have everyone getting excited and hyped up this week, and writing lists, maybe playing some games, getting really kind of excited about it. And they could have, when they released it, they could have said, okay, today, so Tuesday, the 2nd of July, is all the order rules. Fine, you want to do it that way, do it that way. But they could have released them in that way and then said at the bottom, go ahead, write your lists, send us pictures of what army lists you have cooked up, and we will share the best ones on the community next week. Because then next week, you'd have people logging on, reading the lists, looking at the photos of miniatures from gamers around the world, going, oh, that's cool. And me even talking about it online, it would have kept the conversation going, so that by the time it launched, that's it. The hype train would have kept moving. I understand the benefits sometimes of a slow burn, that you want to keep things low key excited, but the danger here is that it just burns out and everyone goes, bored now.
That's the worry, isn't it?
Nothing's happening for a week. What else can we go and do?
I do quite like the fact, though, that just after release weekend, we are getting all the legendary rules straight away though for old. So that's quite nice because if I'm not mistaken, I think 40k last time it took a lot longer for them to release a lot of the legend stuff.
It was about a month, I think.
But it looks like we're going to get it straight away for Sigmar, so that's at least something.
Keeps the Beasts of Chaos players happy, at least.
Yeah, that's very true. Bittersweet. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for kind of like reveals from this week for that sort of thing. But the main topic we wanted to bring up this week, which kind of leads off of Skaventide in a way as well, and you could say Leviathan more recently for 40k as well, for 10th edition 40k. And that's a topic we've wanted to discuss for a while. That is the 3-year cycle for new editions for pretty much every game, I think, really, now that they do. And we're going to kind of discuss, is that too much? If they were to change it, what would they change it to? And also, having seen, I think we just discussed, lads, before we started, Leviathan and Skaventide, neither of them have really sold out straight away, you know, after putting the box sets out, compared to some of the other games that they've, like, for example, I think, was it Mike, Ben on the Discord said, obviously, Old World, people were waiting for ages and it was sold out and they completely...
People are still trying to get their hands on Old World stuff. Like, literally, you've got people selling it, you know, who bought it and then was selling it on like a 50% markup on eBay, and people were buying it.
Yeah. I mean, we had, I think it was Tabletop Tom came on, didn't he, and posted, was it Alchemist Workshop or somewhere like that? They had like 300 something copies left of Skaventide still.
Yeah.
That was yesterday, I think. That's
and they're selling
crazy.
it at like 2/3 of the price or something.
Yeah, really high discount. So, and Games Workshop are still in stock.
Because I know 20% off, is that 128?
It's like 128 roughly, or something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. That's roughly what they're selling around at the moment. But yeah, in terms of, and one thing we'll bring into this as well, because I know you mentioned it, Ben, and to bring it up to discuss as well, is obviously all these data slate updates as well. You know, which are a bit of a wind up. I suppose first of all we can discuss the 3-year cycle. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I definitely think it is too much. I mean, you're gonna start, you're gonna get through this AOS. It's crazy to think about this, but we'll get through this whole Age of Sigmar release. It'll only be about, I don't know, 8 months from now. You'll start to have the lead up to 40k 11th. You'll have that lead up starting. It's crazy.
I mean, in terms of, I pointed this out on the Discord, but Flesh Eater Courts came out 4 months ago. So there are people who bought the Flesh Eater Courts Battle Tome who have gotten at most 4 months of use out of it before it becomes entirely irrelevant and is replaced by the cards and the download that will be available next Thursday. I mean, that's, if I were a Flesh Eater Court player, I'd be taking it back to the store. To be honest, I'd be saying, look, I'm not being funny. I want my money back. I don't need this book.
Oh, no.
And I'm a grumpy old grognard at the best of times. I wax lyrical about old games, and I've got a particular view about the 3-year churn and the balance updates and all the other stuff. But in particular, I guess what I feel like from it is you never get comfortable in an edition.
No,
like the game, not only is it here and then it's been replaced by a new version of itself within 3 years, but throughout the 3 years that the game is out at the moment, they're constantly tweaking it. It's like imagine if you were, I don't know, reading a book and the editor kept running in and tearing pages out of the book and sticking new ones in and replacing sections of the book that happened earlier, and you're kind of going, wait a minute, I don't remember what happened with the story now. Or, you know, you're driving a car and someone keeps dismantling the engine while you're trying to operate it.
Well, it's interesting because I was going to bring in now a lot of my just examples of friends of mine locally who play that. Most of my friends like to try out the multiple systems, but a lot of them tend to stick to one game and get each new edition because they can't either afford to get each other new edition or basically to keep up with them either. So, for example, the new Skaventide, the new edition that's coming out, there's a few people I know who are just like, I'll be quite happy to play one of the older editions. It's the same for like a lot of people I know who play even some of the skirmish games. They're still on the older editions because they just either can't afford to or have the time to keep up with new rules every 3 years. It's too much, I think.
It is the benefit of if you play, like, I mean, I love 3rd and 4th edition 40k in particular. That's kind of my favorite era of 40k. I know 2nd edition 40k has some of the best books. Let me say that now. They are absolute magnum opuses in terms of artwork, layout, editing, background lore that's contained within them. But second edition 40k was unplayable. Like second edition 40k, you had to clear your schedule for a weekend if you wanted to get a game in. Third and fourth edition 40k has that attraction that it's done. They can't fiddle with it.
No.
It's there, it's complete. I can have, all the rule books and stuff that I bought back then are just there to be used, and I can pick them up and play with them and get to know them and understand them, and therefore think tactically because I know what all the rules and the different kind of codices are and how they interact. And if I'm playing a game against somebody, I can go, oh, okay, my army does this, their army does that. So I can think tactically about how it plays. And I don't have to stress about whether or not something's going to come along in 5 minutes and completely change that edition of the game.
Well, this is where you can bring in the topic on the data slates then, right? So for, well, at least, so let's take 40k, because 40k are the ones we see most often. It's ridiculous how often we get them, especially with 10th, because a lot of 40k fans aren't happy with 10th about how bland it's been, really, how ground down it's been.
When did we get the last one? When was it? It was on Warhammer Community, wasn't it?
Not long ago.
But it was Gene Cults and Sisters of Battle, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Yeah.
I haven't.
And the Sisters of Battle Codex was out of date on release weekend. Like they released the balance sheet the week before, and crazy. Already you're buying a book that is already wrong. It just doesn't make sense.
How are new players as well, though? This is the thing with the data slates, meant to, that's not a good, new customer look, is it?
No.
Go into a store, buy the book, and go, oh, this is great. These look really cool. Yeah, listen, by the way, you'll need to go online and look at this section of the website and get a pen and write in the new points costs in the back of your book. But sorry about that.
But again, this just comes back to the 3-year cycle. If the designers had more
20th
than 3
of June.
Years... Okay, so that was the last
20th
one.
Of June.
That's crazy. But again, though, like I say, coming back to the 3-year cycle, if the designers had more time to actually work on new games rather than even fixing the old edition that they've just put out because they didn't have enough time to create a good enough edition and change to the game. I mean, what length of time would you guys say would be perfect?
Well,
go on, you say so.
Sorry, yeah.
You
the problem
go
with
ahead,
the 3-year cycle is it would work if they didn't pump out the codexes the way that they do, or the army books or the battle tomes or whatever, with the rules in there, which then after 10-15 minutes, it's slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean, you get your shiny new book. It's got all the lore in it, all the background, all the painting guides, all your photograph miniatures, which is what a lot of people buy them for anyway. But then you've got the rules at the back, and some people don't even read those rules. They don't even buy the books for those rules. The problem is it's invalidated after a month because there's an update, or there's an errata, or there's an FAQ or something like that. The problem is they can't get past the spreadsheet that says book make money. That's the problem.
That's the trouble. Yeah.
They could still make money. You could still release the books with everything in it, and you could even put the army list and the points in at the end. Fair enough if it gets errata at the end, but release them digitally for God's sake.
Yeah. They're still,
and make it an option where you don't have to have the battle tome. You could just buy those faction rules straight away. Or maybe not straight away, but at least you know they're going to get updated, and all you need is that one PDF.
Digital, yeah.
And
my wife was just... Sorry, go on.
And then, little Timmy with his World Eaters Codex that has been out 10 minutes, it's not invalidated, or your Flesh Eater Courts or your Cities of Sigmar. Because like Ben was saying before, if you had a Flesh Eater Courts book, you're going to be royally annoyed, aren't you? Because it came out and then it's by the way, it's invalidated because we're doing everything starting from scratch. Same with 40k 10th edition. Last Codex, was it World Eaters? I think it was. And Imperial Guard was one of the last ones. And then all of a sudden they were invalidated again. And that, I mean, I've got Cadia stands up there somewhere with the limited edition Guard Codex, which is really, really nice. I didn't even use it because it was pointless.
They are still one of the biggest complaints you'll get from people who leave the Warhammer hobby for other miniature games as well is the books situation that you've just said, Si. It's the main thing that puts them off, because you buy the book and then it's invalidated within.
I think your option is you either buy one book, go, right, this is going to be my army for this game, which for some people is fine. I mean, I'm a hobby butterfly. I'm constantly flitting from one hobby project to another, and I like to have multiple armies for every game system.
Yeah.
Not least because I can have a friend round and go, hey, do you want to borrow an army? We'll get a game on. But if for people, your option is buy one book and go, right, this is my army. Like, I'm going to play Stormcast for Age of Sigmar. That's my army. And I will only ever have to buy one book. So it doesn't matter that the book's going to be out of date in 3 years' time, because I only ever need to buy that one book. Or you do something like they did back in 3rd edition, where they go, okay, well, the book costs £8. It's a pamphlet like this, flappy thin, but it costs £8. So if you do have to replace it in 3 years' time, you don't feel like compared to having spent £35 on a hardback book, which you need to buy to play the game, because once the book comes out in 40k at least, all the data slates that were previously free online disappear and are replaced. I think that perhaps would be a balancing act. But again, to be honest, you asked what my preference would be. I hark back to 3rd edition 40k. 3rd edition 40k was out for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
It ran for 8 years, and some of the codices that were released within it ran across 3rd into 4th because the change from 3rd to 4th was so minimal. I mean, 4th was often referred to as the 3.5. But in terms of, you could buy a codex in 1998, and you could still use it in 2008. It was still like, usable.
Like D&D, like D&D. How long's that been going for? And that's what I think it's 4th edition.
5th.
So
They're on 5th
is it
now.
5th now? So
But again, Wizards of the Coast have been guilty of this and that, because the amount of time that 1st edition D&D was around compared to the amount of time that 2nd edition D&D was around. 3rd was, I think, 20 years ago. 4th is less than 10, and here we are now with 5th. It's almost like Pacific Rim. The rate at which they're getting released is getting smaller and smaller. We're getting a double event of D&D being released 6th and 7th edition in the same year or something. But I couldn't
reset the clock.
Yes, I couldn't put it past them to do something similar to that in 40k or Age of Sigmar, to be honest, where they start going, okay, it was a 3-year churn, now it's a 2-year churn. And I think part of the problem is that for ages people were whinging at them to be like War Machine, to be like Privateer Press, and update the rules during the process, update the background, keep the narrative moving. When 3rd and 4th edition 40k, and when the older editions of Fantasy, like 5th edition Fantasy, were out and about, the game hung around for years. And once it was out, they might do FAQs in like White Dwarf, but they weren't compulsory. Nobody was going to say to you, oh, by the way, you have to bring a stack of White Dwarfs like that with you to an event if you want to play. There was, generally speaking, just an attitude of, okay, well, if you bring the rules, if there's a particular FAQ that helps you, bring that issue along. So when you play that rule, you can go, oh, by the way, Jarvis said this in, chapter approved, or Alessio Calvatore said this in the Fantasy FAQ. But for the most part, they left things alone, and it just worked. But there was a small but vocal minority that went, why isn't it being updated all the time like War Machine does? So now we've got the War Machine problem, which, let's not forget the fact that War Machine and Privateer Press just sold up their entire IP system to another game company because they couldn't hack it in the market that games. To why they're trying to be like Privateer Press, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But they've made this move to trying to emulate that, and it's just confusing people. And I think winding a certain larger part of the gaming community up.
I think to finish up for the topic, I'd say it's a balance between what you and Si have said, to be fair. I think if they're not going to get rid of the books, the hard copies, I think they need to at least minimum 5-year gap. I don't see them doing it, but they should. If not, and they want to even reduce it to a 2 or 3 year gap, or keep it 3 years, or reduce that gap, you've got to release free rules, or at least digital. And then whatever updates you do, you just have that digital copy, and it just updates whenever they want to update something for you.
Well, we've just seen that, like on a larger scale, the core rulebook for Age of Sigmar and then the General's Handbook. I mean, why not do something on a smaller scale for the codexes? So you could just release faction rules, or you could release a full codex with the lore and the painting guide and all the bump that everybody likes, and the rules. You give people a choice.
Why not just make all of the codex, the Battletome rules, available permanently for free online? Then if somebody wants to buy the book because they want a hard copy, dead tree, pretty lore photo book, they can.
Yeah,
but if somebody just wants to play the game, then they can just use the online rules. And can then fiddle with the online ones as much as they want.
I suppose that's also probably production, though. it's like, is it worth them producing all of these different battle tomes if they've also got it free? Would it be
Well,
worth
if
having
they're
people
just
go
creating
buy
the
it?
same book, but chopping the rules out at the end and doing what Ben says and added them digitally, it's not going to make any difference.
No.
The other thing now, anyway, to be fair, I'll say this one last thing. The battle tomes and codexes now, anyway, you have the code to enter into the app to get the digital edition anyway.
You do, which is annoying again because it means that rules that were previously free suddenly disappear behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very
Which is
strange.
equally just like...
Yeah. But yeah, I think good discussion in general there about it. Let us know, guys, in the comments below what you think. Would you like to see the books disappear, have digital versions maybe? Does it annoy you? Are you maybe you guys out there are perfectly happy with it, and you're like, I'd love to have a new edition every 3 years, something new to buy and get into. I don't know.
Maybe
Everybody's
Ben's just a
different.
grumpy old grognard.
Well, I think the three of us are more or less in the same boat there with our opinions anyway, so that we're not keen on the idea of it. So there you go, I suppose.
Let me know in the comments if you agree with me that the old days of 40k in 3rd and 4th edition were the best. When it was just the one game around for like a decade. You could just play it and everyone knew what they were doing.
Indeed. But yes, moving on then from kind of our news topics for this week, we have plenty of community topics that have been sent in over the past couple of weeks, because we haven't had them in a couple of weeks. The first of which was one I had over on Reddit by Ida Nethi. Do you like using named characters? I suppose this can go across any of the systems. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. If maybe Si, did you want to start? Top right, you have thoughts?
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it, to be honest. It depends on what you want. I mean, there's certain named characters that are locked to a certain playstyle, aren't they? So if you wanted to, I don't know, let's use Blood Angels, for example. If you wanted to take Dante, you're locked to having that character with a jump pack and playing a certain way with Dante, because that's just how he is. Or if you wanted to, you could just take a generic Blood Angels captain. It all depends on what you want to do with your army on the day, or whether you want a theme for your army or whatever. So, I mean, it makes no difference to me. I do like the idea of using a named character and leading Azrael into battle with Asmodai or whatever. I like the idea of that and the theme behind it. But then again, if I wanted to take a certain Dark Angels company master because I wanted a certain loadout, then I'd have no qualms about doing that as well. So either or.
Ben, we'll go round. What about yourself?
I do like using them. I mean, I don't use them in every game, but I've got certainly, like, I mean, for my Bretonian army, for Old Hammer, I've been collecting as many of the different Bretonian special character models that they produced. So I've got like Rapance de Lyonesse, I've got Bertrand Le Brigand, and I do like, especially when a special character has maybe just like one unique special rule that makes him stand out.
That is cool.
I really like that. I like that it just adds a little extra kind of flavor to an army. But at the same time, I also like to make my own characters and, you know, to have a character that you write your own kind of narrative for over the course of games. I think that's kind of cool. So I think it's a balancing act. If there's I don't want to play a special character just because he's really good, and therefore, you know, I'm not one of those gamers who goes, oh, yeah, this special character is the best because he's got the best rules, and therefore he's always good. I always take him because I'll always win. That's a bit boring for me. I much prefer it if there's a unique element to a character, or if they have like a particular, you know, trait that lets you alter the army list in some way. Like there's, okay, we're going back to 3rd edition 40k. There were some characters where if you took this character, then suddenly it unlocked a particular unit type as becoming troops for your army, and that was quite cool because it meant that you could play a different type of list, and I think that's kind of especially cool.
It is very cool. I'm a mix between the two of you as well. I do like using them, but I have this weird thing where I find if I love the idea of having named characters, but once I've used them once or twice, I have this thing go then into my head of like, I don't know, if I keep using them, it's like, it doesn't feel right. It's like, would that named character have had this many battles, like, you know, within, do you know what I mean? It's like that weird thing within your head. But like, if you're creating your own character, you've got that flexibility. Your named character, you create the narrative for them. But then it's kind of, I guess, you're using a named character, their narrative's already there, I suppose. Especially if they're a character that's dead now or something, then it's like, you know, well, technically it's like, I don't know, it's a strange one. But
I can't use characters anachronistically. So if one character was alive during one time period and another character was alive during another time period, they can't be in the same list because they wouldn't have been alive. That just doesn't work. You can't have
like that. That and
can't cause a temporal inversion.
Yes, yeah.
Can't cross
Like
the streams.
two named characters that wouldn't have existed same sort of time, or they would not have really fought together. I'm the same. That would throw me way too much off.
Let me, before we move on to the next one, let me throw my own community question here. Favorite special character that you've used yourself on the tabletop?
Named.
Yeah, like named character, special character. What would be your favorite one that you've used at the table? Like, I know from when I was a kid, I had particular ones that I always liked using.
I've got one more. You're still thinking, Luke.
Go on, Si. Who's yours?
In second edition, mine was Ragnar Blackmane.
Yeah, fair.
The Wolf Lord himself.
Yeah, the Howl was really good to get everyone into combat and used to great effect a couple of times.
For me, if we're talking like old name character that I used when I first started as well, because my first ever army that I first ever started with, never actually had a question about this. Chaos Space Marines was my first ever faction.
Okay.
And I think I bought a set of 10 Chaos Space Marines. No, 2 sets of 10 Chaos Space Marines, 5 Terminators I had for Christmas, metal old Terminators, and I had afterwards the next thing I got, not really knowing what they were at the time, but now when I look back at it, it was a Baden. So I got a Baden, cool. Spoiler, leading 5 Terminators and like 10 Chaos Space Marines, playing at my local game store. But I have fond memories of just smashing a Baden down on the field and then battering everything. It was amazing. I think that was probably 4th edition, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would probably be my pick. But there's tons, if I had a proper time to think about it, that would be probably even cooler that I enjoyed. But that would be it.
For me, it was Arcan the Black. So he used to be back in 5th edition Undead, 4th edition Undead, 5th edition Undead book. He was a leash, level 4 sorcerer, necromancer, leash in a flying chariot. And chariots were cool enough. I mean, chariots did impact hits, and that was cool. But this was a chariot that could fly. So you could fly it up in the air in your first turn, and then turn 2, it could come crashing back onto the battlefield anywhere, always getting those impact hits in. And then his sword, any infantry he killed with his sword, came back to life as skeletons and fought for his side. It was such a cool model and such a cool character. I was working for my dad at the time, and I saved up like all the wages I'd earned working for him to mail order him my first week's wages. That was what I got with him.
That's nice.
I've still got him.
It's the ones like that you have the fun connections with, isn't it? I think that meant even more to you at the time. I reckon.
I've got one more. Sorry.
Oh, go on. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
I had a high elf Blood Bowl team. Prince Moranion.
All right.
The star player. The Dragon Prince. Yeah. He
with the high crested helmet.
That's right. Yeah, holding the ball under his arm.
That's cool.
Very cool model.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, we might have to bring that up another time. Actually, once I've had more of a think about it, that'd be pretty cool.
Luke wants a do-over.
My mind is fried right now trying to think, but yeah, I'm sure we'll bring it up again at some point. But we had Funkadrom, Mike, send in what hobby suggestions do you not suggestions. What hobby superstitions do you have? And this is follow on because if you haven't seen it already, guys, I did post actually on the channel today on the community page Ben's last video that he did. Well, Ben, you let people know what you did.
I did a hobby superstition video. I took a poll of various gaming communities to try and find out if there were particular superstitions that applied more to one type of gamer than another. And it turned out there are. In particular, 40k gamers superstitions are meaner towards things like their dice and stuff than, for example, fantasy gamers. You can actually kind of determine what game system somebody plays based on what superstitions they have, which was quite cool.
Indeed. I can't remember after watching it what you actually said yours were. So did you want to start and we'll go back?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my main ones are, if I really want to get the result that I want on the dice, I will blow on the dice before I roll it. If I want to make sure that I get a save, if I'm using an Imperial army in 40k, then I will say the Emperor protects before I roll my armor save. I never re-roll the dice that I just failed to roll. So if I'm aiming for a particular number and that dice fails, you do not re-roll the dice that just failed you. You roll a fresh dice. Which, interestingly, one of the guys commenting on the video said that actually he would consider that cheating. He would say it's not a re-roll unless you are re-rolling the dice that just failed you. Which, yeah, that was an interesting take on that. I think the other one is... No, that's what I would say. You can roll whatever damn dice you want to roll. But no, apparently he was very het up about that. The other one I was going to say was you don't say missile. They're not missiles, they are rocket launchers, because otherwise you're going to miss. That's just common sense to me.
That's fair. Do I go next and we'll go around then, Si? The only, I mean, I don't really have any superstitions per se. I'm a bit OCD, so sometimes like when my dice are sat there and I'm not using them and I've got a pool of dice ready to throw, I have to turn them all to 6s. I do sometimes do
Okay.
that, especially when I have like theme dice. I don't know what it is, but I'd say that's more OCD than superstition. The only other thing I do, like myself and my friend Finn, we're very narrative. And we when we really get into it, like role playing and stuff like that, like we will start to make like the war cries and stuff before rolling the dice. And like if we've said before with us, like we'll make a roll and then make a war cry or something, not like crazy war cry, but just like, you know, the noises of your faction or something your faction might say, and you get better rolls. It's superstition. But then if we don't make the noise or something, then you get a poor roll, and we're like, oh well, you didn't make the noise, so you know it's that's why it went wrong. It's just a little daft thing that I've definitely had come up before with some friends that I've played with, but depends who you're playing against. Yeah. What about you, Si? Anything interesting?
And yeah, I don't really have any superstitions really, and it's not something I'd given a great deal of thought about until I watched Ben's video, and then I found out there were people putting dice in vices and smashing the hammers.
There should be a content warning for this. Dice torture is a real thing.
Yeah, God, yeah. So I hadn't really given it an awful lot of thought. I don't blow on the dice before I throw them, and I'll just pick up any old dice when I roll. But now thinking about it, if I am rolling ones, I do pick them up and roll them again. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong.
Well, I suppose actually that is, yeah, I wouldn't say it's superstition. That is something I do actually. If I've rolled the same die a few times and it's rolling poorly,
well, the amount of ones
I
I roll, or the amount of failures in Shatterpoint that I roll, there's definitely something going on. I need to investigate the laws of probability, I think. So this one's not a superstition. It's just perhaps a strange quirk, and I am tempted to do a video on this about Space Marine chapters and perhaps other armies and factions as well. I will not collect or play a certain army if I don't agree with them, if that makes any sense.
I get that.
I know you're laughing now, but I thought Red Scorpions were really cool, and I do love the colour scheme, and I am tempted to collect them. But then I was reading the lore, and they're quite insular. They've got, you know, big focus on apothecaries, which is awesome. But then they treat other Imperial forces with disdain, don't they? And especially abhumans like Rattlings, Ogrins, and stuff haughty. Like that. Yeah, and I thought, I don't like you as much now. And that's completely stupid. We're talking about collecting plastic soldiers, but because I'm too empathic, and I think, no, I can't get on with that. I used to love the Iron Hands, but now they've turned them into like Space Marines that were obsessed with replacing body parts with bionics to purge the flesh, to cold, logic-driven, evil bastards.
Yeah.
They turn them into really nasty Space Marines, the Iron Hands.
They used to be very much kind of a warrior, you know, clan system, but now they are very much more kind of cold, hard space.
Yeah, one in Korea, you're dead.
Basically.
I'm the same. So I have some factions that I don't agree with their narrative kind of thing, or it puts me off in that way, or sometimes the look of an army, like generic Tau. I will never catch myself doing generic Tau. I just don't. I've never liked the idea of them kind of looks wise fitting into the universe, but that's just me.
The one I've got in that is I will never paint an army as Marines malevolent because they did the other boys wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's interesting.
Salamander's chapter that they betrayed.
Yeah. See, I know it's strange, isn't it? I mean, there's people who are like, do you remember when Iron Hands were massive in? I think it was either 7th or 8th when they were like one of the most powerful Space Marine chapters.
8th. Hang on, was it 7th?
Loads of people all of a sudden.
No, it was 7th. It was before.
It was 7th, wasn't
it? It was the end of 7th. It was when they got all the rules.
Feel
like,
no pain and
not
stuff like
die
that.
And feel no pain. You had vehicles that just wouldn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Iron Hands army springing up everywhere. But I was like, oh no, I can't do it. I love the color scheme, but I like the thought.
That's a separate one for another time as well. Actually, I find I get put off going for factions if lots of people are going for them because they're a powerful faction in the meta. I get put off by that, but
I get annoyed when an army that I already collected becomes more powerful because then everyone then jumps on the bandwagon, and I'm like, no, these are mine. This was my
It's
cool
weird,
little
isn't it?
area
It's
of the
like-
universe. Go away.
it's a defensive thing, isn't it? It's very strange within the hobby, anyway. Okay, we'll move
Next
on
question.
to Esbarnet82. His weekly question for us. He's keeping his streak going. He's a good one. How would you make White Dwarf better? Thinking what parts of the older publications would you bring back, etc. What have we done going around? Shall I go first this time?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys will probably be able to come up with more than me because you would have read, older editions more than I would have. I wasn't a massive White Dwarf person anyway. However, this brings us back obviously to when we had Thingy on and
Nick Davis.
yes, Nick Davis. Sorry, mind's escaping me there.
It's okay. You've got the lurgy.
Yeah, my mind is dead. Sorry, guys. But yeah, when we had Nick on, and we kind of, I suppose, interviewed him a bit really about his kind of era. One of the main things I said that I'd love to bring back is like sort of what he was involved in really, where you'd pull random stuff out of your trash even, or like, for whatever you can find around the house, and each edition, new magazine, they put a section in where they show you how you can build certain terrain out of stuff that you can find in your house. I remember wanting to pick up new editions of White Dwarf just so I could read those, to be able to literally do just that, because I was a kid, I didn't have the money to be able to buy nice new terrain and things. So whatever I could find around my house to use or make new terrain was really handy. So that more of that I would like to see, come back. So that would be my choice.
If I jump in next, I was going to say I actually quite like White Dwarf as it stands at the moment. They've brought a lot of the stuff that I wanted to see back. So you've got things like the card inserts, for example, where they release things like each month you might get some new tiles to use in boarding action, or a new photo backdrop for taking pictures of the images. I think that's really cool. Just little kind of almost like free gifts in your issue of White Dwarf. I think that's really nice that they've already brought that back, and they've already brought back more of a focus on kind of hobby community as well. Each month doing the whole bunker thing and showcasing different kind of hobby groups around the country, around the world. I think that's really cool. So there's a lot of the stuff that I wanted to see, they've already brought back. The only thing I could think of that I would like to see now is I would like to see more focus on the other games. Like there's still a huge, this is all Age of Sigmar over here, this is all 40k over here. And it sometimes feels like the stuff that they put in for Age of Sigmar or for 40k, it doesn't all need to be there, if that makes sense.
Some filler articles, isn't there?
There are some articles you look at and go, okay, yeah, I mean, this is cool, but did this article need to be here? What other article could we have had instead of yet another piece of background material about a planetary combat that's happening that we don't know anything about and that's never going to feature in the lore again? It's cool that someone got to take the time to write that. I didn't really need to read it, but I would have loved to have read, a 4-page piece on a new scenario for Curse City. Like we had the two really cool. I mean, they did do that. They did the two really cool Flesh Eater Court Curse City scenarios. That was cool. Let's have some new Necromunda scenarios in here. Let's have some new scenarios for strategy games of Middle Earth. I'd like to see some more. A new Blood Bowl shenanigans thing thrown in there. I'd like to see a little bit more of the other game systems including, and I will make this clear, the old world. The old world should be treated as an equal with Age of Sigmar and 40k. So it should have a regular presence in White Dwarf.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And maps. I think Battle Reports should go back to using maps, because
that was cool.
I find that... Oh, you're going to say it. Sorry. Battle Reports are... all my Battle Report videos have maps in. If you haven't watched one of my Battle Report videos, I spend ages there going, moving little squares around on a screen to make maps. Battle Reports are easier with maps.
I'll add something in after you've done yours, Si, but go on there. Si, you
stole your thunder, man.
Probably.
No, okay.
Yeah, go on, Si.
I will move straight into that. So
yeah,
I agree with a lot of what Ben says. White Dwarf is getting back to not the olden days, but there's stuff coming back that I did want to see. They're doing more hobby articles now, which is great. There's painting guides in there.
Yeah.
They are focusing on gaming and the community, like with the bunker, like you say. I would like to see more like kit bash articles and things like that. Shameless plug, but I've just done a read through of White Dwarf 174, and one of the things I pointed out in it when S. Barnett asked his question was Mike McVeigh did a converting article, and it was how he made the second edition Blood Angels captain from the front cover of the box. He used various metal miniatures, and he actually showed which parts of each miniature he'd used by painting them red. And it showed him sawing it into bits and pinning it together and using modeling putty, stuff like that. That you think, oh, maybe I'd love to be able to do something like that. And then they created that article, and you're like, oh, actually, I could do that if I got the tools. So things like that that capture the imagination of hobbyists and make you want to do something. That's what I'd like to see more of. But the battle reports, White Dwarf battle reports, Ben knows I'm a big fan of these as well, with the full color maps, and then your key with the unit symbols. So you know which is your tactical squad, you know which is your chaplain, like your chaplain would be a skull and stuff like that. And you can follow the action around the map with color maps, and then make the battle reports not just in turn one, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened. Make it like a story. That's how they used to be. They used to write a little bit of story into the battle report.
From the point of view of the people in the game. Instead
of it, the Space Marine captain, I decided to shoot the Orc Weird Boy with my Space Marine captain, and I rolled 4 4s and got 3 hits or whatever. No, it's like the Space Marine captain took aim with his bolt pistol, singled out the old Weird Boy, and with a single snap of the trigger, bang, the Weird Boy was dead. Do you know what I mean? Just make it a little bit more exciting.
Because they do. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's not just some idiots like us that read the battle reports, it's kids as well. And you want to capture the imagination of these new hobbyists and get them into the hobby.
They do kind of do that now with White Dwarf battle reports.
It's getting there. It's getting
there. They have a little snippet of like point of view text, but then they have those long banners down the side saying, 1, this model moved here and killed this. 2, this model moved here and killed that. 3. And then the whole page is just taken up by a long shot photo of the whole battlefield, with maybe a few little box arts showing close. What I'd rather see is, again,
give me a map with arrows and little explosion symbols.
You look at that picture of the battlefield and you think, but I can't really see the models, and I want to see the models. Yeah. All I can see is the battle. And when I see the little kind of the box outs where they might have a key moment, I'm always there kind of wanting to pinch and zoom on the paper so I can see in detail what's happening. I get old man style, get a magnifying glass and look at it. What I'd rather have is what they used to do, which is a map and then a big photo of part of the action, which, quite often they were quite often open about. They would go back and restage key moments from the battle afterwards for the photographers to get some nice photos of. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see a cool half-page photo of something awesome happening where I can admire the models and go, how cool are those? And get ideas for paint schemes and stuff. And then a map showing me little, icons telling me what the different stuff did. That would be how I would do a battle report.
The only last thing I'll say on it that you made me think with maps, one of my favourite White Dwarfs purely because of when it was released alongside the Lustria campaign.
Okay.
And you had the map that came in the White Dwarf to go alongside it. Just stuff like that again, maybe. Like and to be honest,
posters
nowadays,
as well.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. So the nice big, but we had in the 500th recently. We had the nice. Well, I've got it obviously on the wall, but the other
Luke
side of
needs
it's got
more
White
stuff
Dwarf
for his
on it.
wall.
It won't be there for long.
White Dwarf, it's your fault. I would buy more White Dwarfs and put your posters on my wall, which is emptied. That's definitely one that needs to be done more. But that would actually personally make me buy more White Dwarfs. I don't necessarily buy every White Dwarf nowadays, so just a thought. But yeah, any other thoughts there, guys, to add on now for that one?
I was going to say, in terms of the converting article that you were talking about, so I did love that particular bit where you were lavishing the attention on that in your video, because that is a really cool conversion. I remember Mike McVeigh doing. The recent 500 issue, they did that cool thing where they showcased different hobbyists, so the guys in the studio doing essentially models in the style of a classic White Dwarf cover. And I was thinking, wow, what I'd love to see would be an article on how each of them converted the models to make those.
Yeah.
That would be something I would happily have read an article each month for the next 6 months of, hey, here is how I converted the models to make this cool, all the Cadian dudes pouring out the back of the Chimera. Here's how I did, this one of the two, models jousting each other. But then to be fair, I'd like to see covers those covers they did for that article. That's what I would love to see on the cover of White Dwarf.
Do you know what else did make a White Dwarf really good as well? New plastic catachans.
We walked right into that one.
Yes.
God. Okay. I don't know
Next,
how to follow
please.
that. Yeah. Okay. Guys, are we going to do this next one? Are we going to leave
Let's
it till
do.
next
There's
time?
only one more, isn't there? There's only one
Yeah,
more.
you
Let's
sure?
do
Okay.
it.
So this one is from Sam Gardner. So you get to pick one old fantasy model to return in the old world. What is it? Alternatively, what model would you erase from reality?
Should we go this way around this time?
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
go for
I've
it.
got an easy answer.
Yep.
From the Paunch. There you go.
Well,
I
hang
thought
on.
you might say that actually.
I love him.
He post dates the period in which the old world is set.
Yeah, true.
This is where I
Also,
struggled with
if
this one a little
If we're
bit.
being accurate about the timeline, yeah.
He's
Maybe
like
then just
200 years.
fat goblin wolf lord on chariot then.
Yeah, it's true.
a very fat goblin who happens to be pulled in a chariot with 3 wolves.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying to you this side for this question before we actually started, because it had been a long time since I'd actually played and had an army of lizard men way back in the day for fantasy, and I had to remind myself if there were any kind of like characters that I'd love to come back. And lizard men didn't have a hell of a lot.
What did you call it again? McDonald's.
Say again.
What did you call it again? McDonald's. What is it?
The
The
character
character
I
he
can't
was on
remember.
there.
Oh, sorry, no, yeah, McDonald's, Master Mundi,
That's the one.
Master Mundi.
McDonald's Master Mundi.
Master Mundi never had a model.
No,
It was a conversion kit.
That's what I was going to say. It was a conversion kit, yeah. So, but if I would, if we were to say like, is there a model I would love to have? I would love to have seen a Mazda Mundi actual model. But I had to go back, was the point, and see if remind myself what actual models for characters there were that I would love to see again. One that I came across, which I really remember I loved as well. I can never remember how to pronounce his name properly. It's Ben, you might know. It's Tehanawin, Prophet of Sotek.
Teeny Weeny.
Teeny Weeny.
All
There
the
you
lizard
go.
men had amazing names. Teeny Weeny.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go.
There was also one of my other favorite ones was the lizard man had the idol of What No Biscuit,
Okay.
but it's spelt like WOTNOBIZQUIT. What No Biscuit?
That's how
There were
Orcs
some of
would
those
ask
little
it, isn't
dudes.
it?
Say again, sorry.
That's how Orcs would ask the question.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah. But no, that he was one that I remembered. But
Yeah, holding
that was
the
pretty
heart of the Skaven up in the air, screaming at the sky.
He's got a cool little model.
Cool
Yeah.
model.
Yeah, and I mean, we might get them back eventually anyway, but just the old swarms as well. I just have fond memories of the swarms for some reason. So like the jungle swarms, it'd be cool to get them back. Ben, go on, take us away. I'm sure you have many.
So, I mean, I've already mentioned one of them, Arcan the Black, because he would have been around during this era, and it would be very cool. And he would be kind of a nice alternative take on the Tomb King characters, because he wouldn't be loyal to Cetra or any of the old kingdoms, but he would use pretty much all of the units that you get in Tomb Kings in the service of his master of Nagashazir. But yeah, he's a cool model. He's a little bit dated, maybe. I was trying to think about what model would I absolutely love to see come back that would fit the era, and actually the model itself still stands the test of time. And I figured out which one I'd like to see. Arbol the Undefeated. So that was the Chaos Lord of Khorne, who was riding on this massive kind of, like, the biggest flesh hound ever. That his mount is literally just a giant Khornate flesh hound. And he's really cool. He's got a big axe brandished over his head. He had this massive banner that they could print the banner for. And yeah, if I were to pick a character to come back for the old world as a model that already existed, it would be that one. If it was a character that didn't have a model, but that I would like, that was around during the era, and I would like to see them give that character a model, Genevieve Duodone.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Because we know that she was around at
20
this time.
Questions character that we had on, actually.
Oh, yeah, but we know she was around at this time, and she never had a model back in the day. And how cool would it be to go, here's my Empire army, and here is this notable Empire adventurer who happens to be a Bretonnian vampiress who's some 300 years old.
They could re-release like a limited edition of the book and put a model with it or something.
Yeah, well, that's that. But the thing is, the book is set at the time of the old world. It's set about 2500, so it's set at the end, almost just before the end times. Whereas, of course, we're kicking around some 250 years earlier at the moment, 240 years earlier thereabouts. But she was alive, to use inverted commas, during the era that the old world is set, and was back in the day when she was on her adventuring days before she settled down to be kind of a lady of leisure in Altdorf.
I mean, I know he said alternatively you want to erase a model. I actually wouldn't. There aren't really any models I can think of that I just want to disappear. I don't have anything against any models, so I don't really...
No, to be honest.
No.
There are some models that you look at and go, that was not a great sculpt.
Yeah. There are some where I'd rather swap it for a better sculpt, but I wouldn't say I would want to erase them from existence. But
that would be a better question. I mean, what model would you like to see a new model for?
I think that's probably kind of what he was probably almost trying to say, but yeah. Okay, well, awesome community questions this week, guys. Thanks for sending those in. Make sure, guys, to always drop into our Discord, or you can leave comments on our videos, and send us in more topics, community questions to bring up on future shows.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah, we'll look forward to having yours in. As this week's were, you're on fire, guys, at the moment, sending in some fantastic ones. But we will finish up the show. We do have Warhammer 20 questions back this week for the guys to take a new one on. We've had many sent in over the last few weeks because we haven't really had any of the new ones for the last few weeks, so I've had a few to get through. If you are new to the show and you don't know what Warhammer 20 questions is, because we haven't had it for a couple of weeks, essentially we have suggestions from our viewers for a character or unit from the Warhammer universe. It can be from any of the game systems as part of the Warhammer universe. They can have a model, they might not have a model. The guys have 19 yes or no questions, and the 20th has to be their guess to figure out who it actually is. So I think with that,
the last one was the trickiest we've had yet. The last one we came
that was the last
question.
It was it Abominatus?
Abominatus, yes.
Yeah.
Titan of Corn.
Yeah. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, which of you guys wants to start this week?
Well, Si, you are in the top right corner, so you get to go first.
Right. I'll stick to Old Faithful. Do you reside in the 41st millennium?
No.
Okay.
Do you reside in the old world, aka the world that was?
No.
Okay.
Do you reside in the mortal realms?
Yes.
Okay. Age of Sigmar character. Let's try and narrow it down by faction. Would you be considered a servant of order?
Yes, that's 4.
Okay, unfortunately, that's the one that's got the most books, different factions within it.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, what races do you have within the order? You have humans, elves, dwarves. Are there any other? Those are the 3 options, aren't there? Pointy lizards. So lizards, a pointy ear, a dwarf, or a human. Those are our options, aren't they? Oh, trees.
Yeah.
Do trees count as pointy ears?
I think. Well, there's many types of pointy ears, isn't there? So we've got the Ideneth,
Ideneth, Lumineth, Daughters of Cain.
So I'll rule that one out then, or in. Do you have pointy ears?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Are you now, or were you once, human?
Am I now, or was I once? Yeah, so I'm human. Yes, 6.
So either Citizens of Sigmar or Stormcast then. So that's, we can rule the lizards out, we can rule the Fire Slayers, the Caradons, and all the various flavors of elf out.
I don't think there's any point asking if they've got a current miniature because it's Age of Sigmar, so the likelihood is yes.
We can find out if it's a character or a unit. That's probably a good way to go.
Yeah,
right?
that was going to be my other choice, either that or a Black Library. Would you be considered a leader amongst your peers?
Yes, that's 7.
Okay, so it is a character.
So somebody like Andrasta, if it's Stormcast or
yeah, but it could be very well. It could be Citizens of Sigmar.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could be something that doesn't have a model but has been one of the characters in the books. Because this is going to be a tricky one because Age of Sigmar characters I'm not as well up on as I am in other game systems.
This will be interesting.
Okay, now let's find out if they've been in a publication. Do you have a Black Library novel?
I will answer that one as yes.
Okay, so they have been in a Black Library. Not only that, they have a Black Library novel.
Have you ever been reforged?
No.
Okay, so it's not a Stormcast.
That was number 9.
Okay, we're getting quite close now. So it's human, has a Black Library novel.
We could do with asking him if they're male or female.
Yeah, that's probably good. Is it my question?
Yeah.
Are you male?
No, I'm not male.
Oh,
That's,
God, okay.
that's 10 questions.
Female,
Halfway.
non-Stormcast, human.
Who's the
Right,
leader of the Citizens of Sigmar? That character, the female warrior.
Has she had a Black Library novel, though?
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't know actually.
Oh, hang on. There's that female witch hunter character, isn't there? The one who's her and her dad rock around the place.
Oh, with the dog.
No, they released 2 models. They're called something like the Agents of Azir or the Order of Azir is the name of the thing that they fall under. Are you a member of the Order of Azir?
Okay.
The characters who assisted Gotrek in the Gotrek.
I would say no. No.
Okay.
So that's
it's
11.
not her. So it's not her then.
Does this particular character have a current Age of Sigmar miniature?
Yes. That's 12. That's more the question you probably should focus on, I think.
Okay.
Because then at least you can
So-
look at models.
Human, female, not Stormcast. So, and it's not Doralia Van Denst then, because she works for the Order of Azir. So Pontifex Zenestra is the one who gets carried around in the chair.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Do you get carried around everywhere?
Technically, I guess, yeah.
Technically,
Okay.
because the other answer could be Talia Vedra, Lioness of Parch.
That was
She of course
13.
she gets carried around by a manticore. And might be what Luke is hinting at, because I believe she has a novel coming, but it hasn't come out yet.
Is this particular character a bit of a crazy cat lady? Does she like a big cat with wings?
Yes.
Ah.
That's 14.
14. Okay.
He's gone.
Okay.
There might be other
No.
crazy cat lady female lady characters that you haven't discovered.
I'm just looking at the picture now. Looking at the picture of her. Does she lack depth perception?
Yes, probably.
Oh dearie me. Yeah, we'll put your
With the guess, go
misery. Are you Talia Vedra, Lioness of the Parch?
I am indeed. So I should have said at the beginning, but sent in by Darcitus. Sent it in from the US. Haven't watched the podcast. Thanks for your
Such a
suggestion,
cool
my friend.
model.
It
Yeah,
is
good
one of the
suggestion.
coolest models from the last number of years for Sigmar, for sure. Yeah, or in
Yeah.
general, to be honest.
Awesome.
Well, to the point where unfortunately you can't do it in the old world, but in the 4th and 5th edition Empire Army book, an Empire General can ride on a Manticore, and I keep eyeing this model up for my 5th edition Empire Army and going, General on a Manticore. It's not the most appropriate. Literally, almost any other monster is better to put your Empire General on.
So well done, guys. You did get that one this week. Age of Sigmar, not the strongest for you guys, so you did get there.
Not to give any hints to anybody about what you should be asking in the future.
Yeah, we're really good
Well,
at Age of Sigmar. We're awesome.
Yeah.
Like
I
I say,
think next time it's an Age of
honest.
Sigmar one, we'll get Luke to do it, and Si and I will just stand here on the sidelines and cackle.
But like,
that's right.
but like I say, we do have a fair few left to go through now, so that's quite good. So thanks, guys, for sending some in. If you would like to send us more suggestions in, though, to wargamingluke@gmail.com is the best way. Send to my email, or you can message me on the likes of Reddit if you chat to me on there. I get quite a few on there, or the Discord.
Still undefeated.
And send more in to challenge the guys and for you guys to play along with at home each episode, I guess. But we shall end it there. Thanks, guys, for coming on again. If you're watching us on YouTube, just a reminder, make sure you're subscribing to us. We're ready for our next episode to drop. Follow us over on Spotify if you're listening to us there. And please do, guys, join us in the Discord. Give us more of those community topics and questions and get involved in the chat, because we really enjoy seeing you guys over there. So we'll start with you since you're at the top there. Where can we find you, bud? And what you're up
You
to?
can find me over on YouTube as Hobby Waffle, and I've also got the same handle on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram. Just done a video going through White Dwarf 174. Is one I made earlier for anyone that's watching. Basically reading through issue 174 of White Dwarf, which was from June 1994, 30 years ago. Going cover to cover, looking at all the stuff that's in there, and then looking at the battle report at the end, which I know Ben is a huge fan of. So
Really cool.
have a look at that on YouTube. Go and give it a look. Nick Baton's watched it, so I'm quite pleased with that. It was his first ever issue, so goal achieved. But yeah, that's where I'll be. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Likewise, you can find me on my own YouTube channel, over on Twitter as well, and on Instagram and Facebook and wherever as 90% Geek. If you're not already a subscriber on my channel, please come over and help me top over into 2,000 subscribers. That would make me a very happy person. And yeah, I haven't yet decided what this week's video is going to be about. I will have a video up at the end of this week about something, but I don't know what yet.
Nice. As always, guys, I'm mostly over on Twitter, but you can find me Facebook, places like that, Instagram as well. wargamingluke on across the board. And I put out a separate little video in the last week. First one I've done in ages that wasn't the podcast, to be honest. Did an unboxing of Skaventide. Managed to snag an early copy of it. I was really quite proud of myself for that. So you can go and check out the unboxing for that.
We're not worthy.
Watch him rip the paper like an animal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't happy with that one. But yeah, you can check that out anyway, guys. But otherwise, it'll be here on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a good video.
Cool.
But until next time, guys, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. But as always, happy wargaming.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.